ask some questions. We're going to require some participation here, and don't be shy. We're all friends here. Why is it important to know numbers in this business?
Obviously, so you show that you're knowledgeable in what you're doing and people feel more comfortable working with you.
That's pretty good. Hit
Yeah.
the nail on the head. So Erica, you were just on office hours. For those of you who don't know, every Tuesday and Thursday from 12:30 to 1, we have office hours in which you can just jump on and get a little one-on-one time, ask any questions you might have, and it's a little bit more personable than this group coaching session. But Erica was just on office hours, and you said that you got into some conversations this past week at a cookout, and people came up to you and asked you how the market was, right?
Yep.
So when somebody, this is just I'm not picking on you, anyone can answer this. When somebody asks you, how's the market? What do we say?
I learned something yesterday in Ignite with Josh Uminsky. He said, well, are you buying or are you selling? That's the first question you should be asking.
Okay, I'm buying.
There you go. Then you give the answer with how the market's going with buyers, that it's tough, that people are putting a lot of offers in and they're not getting it. Some people are getting discouraged. Some people are getting offers the first time around, but it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride for them.
Okay. Cool. So you're giving a good answer. You know how that number or how that could be even better of an answer is if we threw a little bit of sexy statistics their way. We're gonna talk a little bit about those numbers right now, and you hit the nail on the head though. Like it's important so that we sound like we know what the heck we're talking about. Like if you were to go to CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and you ask that person, well, how's your industry doing? Do you think that they're probably just going to say, oh, it's good, or oh, it's bad? No, a CEO is going to say, well, we're up in sales 75%. My employee engagement score is at 35%. So we got to work on that, but they're gonna likely whip out numbers. And so we are the CEOs of our little independent real estate empire. And as such, we need to be well versed in our business and the statistics that are driving the market. So Erica, I really appreciate what you said about the buyers in this market. I'm gonna tell you something that maybe we haven't thought of yet, and that is that the market is softening incredibly towards buyers right now. And we don't have updated statistics to support that from a numbers perspective, but so that you can talk to your buyers and be really aware, we are currently sitting on about 20, I want to say 2,500 active listings. So there's a number. Let's just I'll give you an exact number here. And I'll show you how to do it. If you can see my screen, and if you don't know this already, please take notes, guys. I shouldn't have to repeat this. We've talked about this stuff before. So if in order to look at all these numbers that I'm going to share with you, most of them come directly from the MLS. So if you sign on the MLS, this is your front page. For those of you who have not already saved Quick Search, I want to recommend under menu, search, if you put your gold star next to Quick Search, that will become a favorite on your toolbar so that you won't have to go searching again. You can save yourself a second. Click on Quick Search. You see this number right here, it says 6352. That's all listings that you see here. That's coming soon, active, contingent, contingent, contingent. We're only interested in the number of active. So we're at, let's round. No, none of your buyers or sellers care if it's 2487 or 2500. It's a lot easier to remember 2500 though. So we have active 2500, and then we have coming soon 275. We'll call call it between the two. Between the two, we've got almost, what, 2,750. So that's the number of active homes. The reason I'm bringing this up is because, Erica, a month or two ago, I would have completely agreed with you that our buyers are in a really tight spot in regards to buying a home, because a month or two ago, there wasn't 2,500 listings. There were more buyers as well. What we're seeing right now, what I'm seeing and experiencing, and then in my talks with other agents, and Courtney and I just had a conversation about this as well, we're seeing less traffic at listings now. Why is that important? Because we want to be therapists for our buyers as well as our sellers. But for our buyers, a therapist would come at it from this angle, saying, you know, it is still a seller's market. And here's the stats that support that. We've got 2,500 active listings. We had 500 and whatever sell last week. So we're sitting on about a month's worth of inventory. So technically that's considered a seller's market. However, if we compare it to earlier in the year, buyers are having a much easier time right now purchasing, because there's more inventory and fewer buyers. So what we're currently seeing, are there still multiple offers? Yes, there are. But are we up against 10 other offers right now? No, we're normally up against 1 or 2. And if you work with me, we will write the best offer and it'll get accepted. Statistically speaking, the last 4 offers I've written, I've got accepted. We've been in multiple offer scenarios each time, but it's only been up against 1 or 2 other offers, and this is real life. So it is becoming easier, and that's what we want to project to our potential buyers, because a lot of buyers are still standoffish. We have to enlighten them. Now we're going to talk about stats. So I want to talk quickly about where to find all the stats that we're going to talk about today. Number 1, MLS. The MLS is our number 1 resource for anything real estate numbers related, anything real estate search related. Other areas that we can go to find statistical information that's going to make us sound brilliant would be the e-notes that we get in our email from the Columbus Board of Realtors. Again, that's called the e-notes, electronic notes. Should be in your email. If you're not getting those, you might have your wrong email address in the MLS. Other areas that we can get some statistical information, social media. The Columbus Board, the Columbus MLS, if you're not friends with them or are following them on Instagram, they've been posting a lot of stories lately. And those stories typically highlight 1 or 2 key stats that are heavy players in our industry. Steal those shamelessly, reshare those things, make them your own. It's public information. Other areas that I'd consider I would advise y'all to take advantage of would be meetings. Your brokerage meetings are a wealth of information. For example, the slideshow from our last monthly meeting showed all these stats right here. These are KWRI. This is Keller Williams International, basically. These are stats from KWRI. Then we've got Ohio Valley region. So that's our region, Kentucky and Ohio and some of Indiana. Numbers specific to this region. Then we have numbers specific to our Columbus MLS. And lastly, numbers specific to your brokerage. What numbers are important? We'll talk about that here in a second. I don't want you to memorize all these numbers. That is not the purpose of this class. This is not the purpose of us being students of the game. I don't have the desire to memorize all these numbers, but there are key numbers that you should know. And those key numbers you should know are the key numbers that any buyer or seller or investor wants to know. We'll talk about that here in a moment as well. So I want to repeat this again, where to find all this good information: the MLS, your e-notes, social media. If you're not already go ahead and follow NAR. Go ahead and follow Columbus Board of Realtors. Follow other real estate organizations, follow other realtors. Hell, follow Chip and Joanna Gaines. We were talking about this, like HGTV has been a blessing for our industry. Follow all these people that are going to give you good information that you can use in your business. And then lastly, go to your brokerage meetings. Your brokerage meetings are held monthly. They give you all that is happening at the brokerage. They're going to talk about Bold. They're going to talk about Mega Camp. They're going to talk about all the upcoming fun stuff that we have, but they're also going to talk about statistics. It's not done to bore you. It is done to make you better, more efficient agents. Okay. What are the important numbers in your buyers or sellers' minds, you think? Give me one important thing that you think a buyer or seller would care about from a statistical or numbers standpoint.
How much they're gonna get back, or how much it's gonna cost them?
Heck yeah, that's great. So like a net to seller, we've talked about that before. So what Jason I think is referencing is, pretend I'm a seller. If I was to sell right now, how much money would I make? Well, that's good information to know. And there's a form that we have for that. It's called a net to seller form. And you can pair with any title company out there. They will have a tool that's useful, that's easy to use for you, that you can use. That's a great one, Jason. What other numbers are important?
How many days properties are on the market?
Yeah, so as a realtor, I abbreviate that to DOM, days on market. So what is the average days on market, Josh? And if I have that information, great. You know how many people have ever asked me that? Like maybe one, but that's information that I offer up because that's something that people don't know that they care about. But when selling their house, don't you want it to be on the market for as few days as possible? 1000% yes. So when I go to a listing appointment, do you think I bring that up every single time, especially if it's something that we want to highlight? Like, heck yeah. Now, 5 years ago, I wasn't an agent 5 years ago, but I'll guarantee days on market was a whole heck of a lot larger than it is currently. And so we might not have spent so much time spotlighting it other than to say, hey, I'm pretty sure I can sell this quicker than the average days on market. Good call out, Victoria. What other numbers might be important? If I was to say that there are three numbers that are probably most important to a buyer or seller, days on market is one of them.
Taxes.
Taxes, that's a good number too.
Interest rates.
Interest rates. Yep, that's a great one. You're giving me more. The other ones that I was thinking about were what's the average price that things are selling for right now? So if I'm just speaking broadly to people, to give the increase of average price point year over year this year, it's incredibly eye-opening. And it may inspire people to do business with you that hadn't thought about it previously simply because of the increase that they can expect to make year over year. So the numbers that I have are days on market, average price point, and number of homes available, otherwise known as inventory. When we use that term inventory, it makes us sound smarter than, it makes us sound like we're business owners. as opposed to just saying there's 2,400 homes for sale right now. That's a long way to say the inventory right now is about 2,400, 2,500. I'm going to show you all. We're in the quick search here. I'm going to start over again. The first way to calculate the thing that I say we should be updated on each day, go to menu again, create quick search as a shortcut by putting this little star next to it. Under status, you're going to go active. So right from the get-go, this just took me what? I don't know, 5 seconds to look up how many homes we have currently on the market. And this is just single family. These are residential homes, okay? This is not like including commercial or rentals or land. This is just residential, which is typically what the majority of us start out in. If you're interested in commercial, there's a drop down right here for that. If you're interested in multifamily, there's a drop down for that, okay? So I'm only talking about residential. Active homes, we're currently sitting at, let's just round to 2,500. If I want to tell you how many weeks of inventory we have, this is where we sound really smart. You've heard the term absorption rate. Absorption rate simply means that if another home doesn't hit the market for the next month, or if another home doesn't hit the market, how long will it take for us to sell through all the current inventory? In order to find that out, it's another one click of a button. So remember the number 2,500. Then we're going to go down here to look at closed. We only care about closed units for the last week. Change that number to 7. So 590. So if I get out my calculator, I'm going to divide 2,500. So 2,500 divided by 590 equals 4.2. What's that mean? 4.2 what?
Weeks.
Bingo. 4.2 weeks of inventory on the market currently. This is the number that I singularly point out with every real estate conversation I ever have with somebody who I'm trying honestly to win their business. If I can bust out that, I sound like a pro who's on top of the market. And I am. I'll bet you money that of the 8,000 realtors that are licensed in Central Ohio, 7,500 don't know what absorption rate is. 7,500 don't even know how to access that information. And I'm glad to say that I've got 10 of y'all here who now do. Use this information. You're going to sound like a pro. So again, absorption rate is how many weeks, if another home does not hit the market, will it take for us to sell through all of our inventory? 4.2 weeks. If I'm breaking that down into months, that's 1 month. We'll round down to 1 month. So we have 1 month of inventory available. It is considered a seller's market with 4 months or less of inventory available. So if I did that calculation and the result was 16 weeks, then we'd be at still a seller's market, but it'd be much more level and balanced than it is currently. And at this, guys, if I'm not making sense or if you're confused about anything at any point during this conversation, let me know. Just stop and ask the question. I'm totally happy to pause.
Actually, real quick, can you go through that math again? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So statistics aren't everyone's cup of tea. I understand that. Math wasn't everyone's strong suit. I do kitty math, okay? So I only focus on that side stuff. So in order to get that number, we're going to start from the start. If I don't have it in my saved right here, I'm going to go look up quick search. status. I'm going to drop that down and I only care about active. And isn't it funny? This number changes every time you pull it up because that's business is being conducted while we're on this call. So we're going to still round to 2,500. So we'll write that number down. And I do this every single day, guys. Anytime I'm gonna do work, so that's Monday through Friday, I look up how many active homes we have because I want to be able to speak to it no matter when I get a call. And then I'm going to click on closed and see that number changes, but that's not the number we want. Over the past year, we've had 38,000 homes sold. I don't care about that. I care about the last 7 days. 590. So I take my first number, 2,500, divide that by 590, and you get 4.2. I just posted a market update yesterday, and this is stats that you're not going to get a lot of love on it on social media. Like people will see it, but they're not going to comment on it. But another thing that to consider while you're in a screen like this is where are the homes selling? Is there one area that's congested? Is there one area that's missing something? So like Mechanicsburg, for instance, there's not a soul bought anything over there. However, UA's hopping right now, the last 7 days. North of the outer belt seems to be kind of hopping, whereas west of the outer belt, not so much, unless you're in Galloway. This is good information to know for anybody that asks you. You're going to sound like a pro. You could say, Eric, at your cookout, when they say, how's the market? Well, now your answer just changed, right? Because you just learned this. So your answer is, well, actually the market's a seller's market through and through. We're sitting on about 4 weeks of inventory, and anything less than 4 months is considered a seller's market. So right then and there, you sound like you're brilliant. But then if you were to go further and say, and honestly, because we're in Hilliard, I will say that home sales are pretty lean right now on the west side of the outer belt, whereas on the north side, they're thriving. So what we're seeing is maybe not as many homes for sale on the west side as on the north side. So let's say your party's in Hilliard, say this could be a great time to sell if you thought about it because there's very little competition. On the other side of things, if you're on the north side of town, you could say this is a great time to sell because as you can see, homes are selling a lot up here. So there's a different way to attack every angle to make people convinced that it's the right time to sell or buy.
It's really
But
smart.
by you just inserting that little statistic, you're going to sound really smart.
Hey, Josh, you said anything less than 4 months is a seller's market?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
So anything 4 months or above, we would consider a balanced market, where basically if you're looking for a home, you're going to find one and you're going to probably be the only one to bid on it. In a rare instance, you'd have multiple offers. In the 3.5 years I've been licensed, I've not witnessed that. It's always been a seller's market, so I've been very spoiled. But we will, because markets change all the time, we'll eventually see a market that's more balanced. We may even see a buyer's market. I hear stories from older agents of late 2000 or late 90s when there were 15,000 homes for sale. There's currently a fraction of that, right? 2,500. I will say this, in years past, and this is another number that I normally send to people or tell people, we're currently missing about 1,500 listings from where we were at about a year ago. So if I can say that, then people kind of get a sense for what I mean by that. It means that we're experiencing an inventory shortage. So I want to show you, I don't want to spend all day talking about this. I'm going to show you some other stats that are really cool. And again, I'm not expecting you to memorize all these things. Just memorize 1 or 2. That's all you need to do to sound really smart. And every month they're going to change. That's why I encourage y'all to attend your monthly brokerage meetings, because every month I just take away 1 or 2 stats and then I go infuse that into my conversations that I have. So on the front page of the MLS, everyone's MLS look like this. Housing stats. If you can all see my cursor here, it's about halfway down the page. Housing stats. Click on that bad boy. I will say this. You are not going to get up to the minute housing stats anywhere you go. Reason being, the real estate world, statistically speaking, is about 2 months behind. As you can tell, we're in September, but we can't pull any stats for anything sooner than July. Okay. Did you guys know this existed? If not, now you do. Okay. News release is where we're going to start here. There's 3 different options. We got news release, housing report Columbus region, and then housing reports county, city, schools. It goes in the following order. It goes broad, narrower, narrower. We're going to start with the broadest here. And this is just some verbiage. This is something that you can rip directly from this and put on a social media post or infuse into a listing presentation, whatever you want. So this kind of comes in the form of verbiage, which may not be as easy to read for some of us. Some of us like graphs, charts, tables, etc. Talk out loud. What numbers pop out to you in your eyes as you read through this? And I'm talking about the verbiage. What numbers pop out to you as you see them?
The first thing I saw was the average home price of a home sold in July was $300,013,737.
I would assume, Victoria, that you would not be the only one to say that. And the reason being is because there's a dollar sign there, right? And at the end of the day, we're humans. We want our money. And money's important to us versus all these other numbers that may not visually strike as much of a chord because they lack that dollar sign. So I would agree completely with you. And would I tell you to memorize this number right here? Or would I tell you to memorize this number here? I'm saying it's much easier for me to remember 13. I'm a rounder. Nobody cares about that 0.8, okay? 13% is what you can get away with saying. You can say the average home sold was up 13% in 1 year. Framing that into context for a buyer or seller, for a buyer, if I'm coaching you to talk to a buyer about that stat, I'm saying if you buy now, your home could potentially be worth 13% more next year. If I'm approaching a seller, we can sell your home right now today for 13% more likely than we could have last year. Now's the time to sell. It's all in the semantics and how you want to play that game, right? Again, we're therapists for both buyers and sellers. And for investors, game over, right? Investors, if they don't care about this stat, then they are a crappy investor. Investors want to buy low, sell high. Well, what's better than this stat right here? Only thing better would be 14%, right? Good call out. Are there any other numbers to anybody else that pops out when you're looking at this?
Days on market.
Where are you seeing that? You seeing that down at the bottom here?
Right under price as far as price adjustments.
Okay. This is great information here. And this is only for the month of July, I get. But the people you're talking to, They don't care if it's from July. The numbers are going to be probably pretty similar for August and probably pretty similar talking year over year for September. The only thing that's going to change these numbers dramatically month over month are going to be things like interest rates or crazy world events. Things like COVID honestly might have a major impact, but we haven't seen it quite yet. This is great information. So if you've got a buyer who's under 350, this is a great little nugget to know. Hey, on average, things are selling in under 9 days, basically just round down to a week. So we need to be quick. When you see anything at all that you like, you're gonna wanna let me know quickly so that we can get you in there. And for sellers, this is a selling point, right? Like, hey, it's not gonna take us long to sell this home. You might think about selling now. And here's the script for anyone who's on the fence as a seller. If you have anyone in your world who is this way, who says, I don't know if I want to sell right now. I'm thinking maybe the getting might be better next year. My script is always this. Well, I can appreciate that philosophy. And who's to say it might not be better next year? I am saying this. I can't predict what's going to happen a year from now, but I can show you directly because of statistical information what will happen if we listed soon. And that's going to look like 13% over last year. It's going to look like 9 or less days on market. And I know what interest rates are currently at. I can't tell you what's going to happen next year with COVID, pandemics, what's the next variant going to be. I can't tell you if interest rates are going to rise. Prognosticators are saying there might be a slow rise there. Who knows what the job market's going to be? But I can guarantee you that if you sold right now, we could expect to make X number of dollars. So the way that I presented that information was that you'd be smart to sell now. I'm scaring you a little bit about what the future holds. And yet I'm not lying one bit. I'm presenting great facts that any pro would present. So when I normally say this, real estate is a relationship industry. It's not a sales industry. However, there are sales tactics that we do use. This would be one of those that I feel falls into both buckets. It's salesman-y because I'm wanting you to sell now so that we can capitalize on today's market, which is also relationship-wise. Here's a great graph. I love this graph. This is killer. Days on market in July and then days on market year to date. 2020 is in the blue. And it goes by price point. This is awesome information because if you've got a buyer who's in a 750 range, look at how crazy the market still is in that range. A year ago, it was almost 3 months. Now it's less than half. It's about half a month. That is an incredible stat. And all this information is right at your fingertips. So if you're going to go on a listing appointment, would we be wise to infuse this into our listing presentation? I know, Courtney, you and I were having a little conversation earlier today about maybe infusing some of this into your listing presentation. These are some great stats to use. And hell, copy and paste this bar graph right into it. It's going to make you look like a genius. Nobody cares where you got it from. I'm going to go back now. So that's kind of the broad view, more verbiage. We're going to go next into the housing report Columbus region. And again, if you think this looks familiar, it's because you just saw it under your brokerage meeting notes. A lot of this information is pulled directly from that. So information that I feel are important for us that we should know, and this is for our entire MLS, so that entire Central Ohio area. Closed sales. This is interesting because we like to say that inventory is down. Inventory is not necessarily down. It's just selling so much quicker than it was. So In July alone, we had more listings than we had last year close. For the year, 10.6% increase in closed sales. Median sales or average sales price, this again is that number that I really like to lean on, 13% increase. For the year, we're sitting at over 15%. So of the two, which numbers am I telling sellers? 15%. I'll say this, a lot of people are heavy into the average price per square foot. I gotta say, I don't put a single iota of importance on that because it's gonna change no matter, regardless of where you're at geographically. You think your price per square foot's gonna be different in Dublin versus Whitehall? Yeah, it's gonna be way different. So an average of the whole city, that's really tough to gauge importance on. Days on market, check this out. 56% reduction. Great for a seller. Again, what I was just saying, new listings. So inventory is not necessarily down. It's just selling so much quicker. So those are key metrics from a numbers perspective. If you like bar graphs, there's something for you here. If you like step charts here, you got that. Average sale price. And again, these are just different ways to look at the same numbers we just looked at. But again, if you wanted to take a screenshot, use these in some graphic that you put out there. This is what's going to make you look like a pro. I like this one, percent of original list price received. This is what I want to tell a seller. Last year at this time, you were just under list price with where you ended up. This year, 3.5 almost percent higher. Now's the time to sell. Can't tell you what it's going to do next year. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can use facts and data to tell you that right now you can expect to make over asking price. Okay, so that is the entire MLS. Now we're going to end with something that I think is really important, particularly if you are trying to focus on a specific part of town. This is an update by county and school district / community. So let's just say we want to know what areas are hottest right now. Somebody asks you, let's say you're working with an investor, and this happens a lot, I promise you. Well, tell me what areas are hottest right now. If somebody were to ask me that, I would come to this report right now and I would just look through it. Well, closed sales. Let's just look at closed sales. I'm going to look for huge number increases. So Clintonville is banging right now. Delaware, Gahanna, Grove City. You see the numbers we're looking for? We're looking for double digit. Washington Courthouse. I had no idea Washington Courthouse was hot right now. Worthington. And if they ask you what areas are maybe, not holding their value as much. Well, if they ask about value, then I might come over here to sales price, average sales price, and what areas are we seeing decreases in? Because really everywhere should be showing an increase. Circleville, Grandview, Miami Trace. I don't even know where Miami Trace is. Where's Miami Trace? Anyone know?
I'm guessing so.
Northridge, Jefferson, West Jeff. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's only a handful of places that are quote unquote losing value year over year. If you wanted to zero in, let's say Jason, you're taking Reynoldsburg and that's gonna be your baby. Well, closed units year over year was actually down 24%. And maybe that's because people are content there. Maybe that's the way we spin that, right? But average price point, holy cow, up 24%. So if we wanted to dig more into Reynoldsburg, because Jason wants to be the local pro, again, we get to see exactly what we just saw for the Columbus MLS, specific to Reynoldsburg. Days on market for Reynoldsburg in July, 4. That's crazy. Year to date, 8. So Jason's response to anyone thinking of buying or selling is, hey guys, if we're in Reynoldsburg, we're going to sell this home in less than a week. That's what our numbers are telling us. If we price it okay, and if we make sure that it's not a total crap hole inside, we're going to sell this thing in a week. That's good peace of mind for a seller. Before we go, there was one other thing in kind of preparing for this call. So number one, do we have any questions about how to get this information? I'm going to review it real quick one time. You go to your MLS and you look at housing stats. Now, should you be going into this thing every single day? No. Don't waste your time. I'd much rather you be generating leads. But once a month, sure. Or just cheat and go to your monthly brokerage meeting and rip a few stats off that you think pertain. So, main menu, housing stats, and you can find all that stuff. I looked up real estate stats for 2021. And this is national, so don't take this all as the gospel here in Central Ohio. But there's some really interesting stuff here. Home buying power has increased 21%. What that just simply means is that buyers can get more home for their money because interest rates are so low. I've seen a graphic going around on people's stories lately that says, buy now or wait. And the buy now stat gives you a $350,000 house at a 3% interest rate and how much you're spending on that over the life of the loan, versus perhaps next year when the same home is selling for the same amount, but the interest rate is increased. It's really eye-opening, and anybody that would be considering buying it'd be a no-brainer. Oh, I should buy now because my home buying power has increased because of interest rates. Here's some cool information. So interest rates, if people ask, are interest rates going up? Okay, maybe they are, but they're still at historic lows. This is the graph that's telling us that. 1980, they were up to like 18%. Could you imagine buying a house 18% interest rate? They've slowly climbed their way down, and now they're in the threes, low threes. This is interesting. U.S. homeownership rate by age. So if you're helping, if you personally are under the age of 35, you're in the lowest age group of people that own homes. That's important to know. You can still focus on that group without a doubt, but expect a lot of your business to come from older groups. Gen X, anyone born before, so 65 to 79 are the number one largest proportion. Youngsters, 2%. Now, are they future home buyers? Absolutely. So don't lose track of trying to generate leads there. The number of homes sold in May, so this number is a little old, obviously, but was up 44% from last year. Now that's COVID induced, obviously. At the end of the day, guys, I know we only have a couple minutes left. This is about running a business. And if we're running a business, we need to run it with numbers in mind. Numbers are not the end all be all of this industry, but I'm pretty sure you know how to calculate your commission. You should also know how to calculate how many days are on market. You should also know how many homes are available. You should know ballpark what the average price increase for a home is right now. We should know interest rates. They change every day basically, but at the end of the day, you should know that it's right around 3% right now. I'm not saying you know all the numbers, just know the key ones that most of our buyers and sellers care about. Any questions about numbers? Were any of these sexy? Yeah, sexy. I like this one here. 43% of home buyers search online before contacting an agent. Should we not have an online presence then? If literally about half of buyers and sellers look online, where do you think they're going? Google, Facebook, Instagram, they are tracking you down. They're giving you a job interview without you even knowing it. So if I'm on social media and you're not on social media, who has the upper hand? I do. I'd like for you all to be successful. So if we know this is truth, then why would we not try to impact that truth? All right, guys. Good stuff today. Next week, I do have an ask. Does anybody know of a good electrician that they would recommend to participate in a vendor call next week? I am going to be spotlighting 4 different vendors that are B-level vendors. What I mean by that is vendors you don't typically use for every transaction. So when we think of vendors, we think of our A vendors being lenders, title company, inspectors. In a B vendor, I'm going to have people that we don't use on every transaction, things like a basement specialist. I'm going to have that person on. I'm going to have a home cleaner on. I'm going to have a insurance agent on, because everyone asks, who do you recommend for home insurance? I'm like, I don't. I don't know. So we're going to learn from somebody. And then I'm looking for an electrician. Everyone asks me for an electrician, and I don't have a go-to person. So if you know of one, please shoot me a note. Someone who's reliable, who will answer their phone. If they don't answer their phone, then screw them. I don't want them. I want us to beef up our Rolodex of people that we can go to. So if you know of anybody electrician-wise, holler at me, please. All right, guys, good conversation. Hopefully y'all picked up a couple things from it, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Sign up
Thanks.
for Bold. Promise you won't regret it.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
thank you.
Bye.